But it was all one big setup. And that's when things started falling apart. And it gets worse. So I've never told this story publicly before. And honestly, I wasn't planning on telling it for a while because it still kind of stings. But I think you need to hear it because if you're trying to build something right now, whether that's Airbnb, real estate, a business, whatever it is, this story might save you from making that same mistake that I made. In January of 2024, I got scammed for $45,000. And the crazy part is that money wasn't even mine. I took out $50,000 in business funding from a funding company. I paid that funding company $5,000 just to get the funding, and then lost almost all of it to two separate scams within the same few months. So at the time, I'm 22 years old. I'm working at TSA at the airport. I have 4 Airbnbs that I built with my own money, cash from my paychecks, profits from the actual business. I bootstrapped basically everything, and I thought I was about to take this thing to the next level. Instead, I spent the rest of that year just trying to get back to zero. So let me tell you exactly what happened, because there's a lesson here that I wish someone told me before I went through it. So let me back up for a second and actually just give you some context. I started my Airbnb business in October of 2022 with my business partner, Alex. We saved up for like 7 months. So 6 weeks later, after we had the funding, we got our first unit, a 2-bedroom in Massachusetts. I still remember the first booking that we got. Every dollar of profit went back into the business. So by October of 2023, so exactly a year later, we had 4 Airbnbs, all funded with cash. I barely had any credit. I think I had like $2,000 on an Amex business credit card that I could barely get approved for in the first place. And I didn't have any connections to funding companies or any of that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling good for 4 units in a year. I was like, all right, we got actually something going on here. How do I scale this faster? And that question is what got me in trouble. So January 2024, I signed up with a new mentor, someone who was supposed to help me scale the business to the next level. And one of the first things they introduced me to was a funding company, because up until that point, I had been doing everything with cash, a little bit of credit. And I'm looking at these guys being like, yo, I could get $50,000 in 0% interest funding, and I could use that to get 3, 4, or 5 more Airbnbs. I'm about to go crazy with this. So we applied for it, we got approved for $50K. I had to pay a $5K fee to that funding company for helping me get approved for that amount. And now I'm sitting on $45,000 of someone else's money that I have to pay back in a year. But I'm thinking, this is going to pay for itself 10 times over. And I'm about to scale this thing to the moon. Now here's where it starts going wrong. Through the Mentors Network, I got connected to a group of people who were doing deals in Tulum, Mexico. And they pitched me and Alex on this villa, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 2 pools, a jacuzzi, private chefs, all of that stuff. The pictures looked insane. The numbers looked insane. And someone I trusted vouched for these people. So I'm thinking, this is it. This is the play. We're about to have an international Airbnb, a luxury Airbnb, and this is gonna go crazy. So we put about $25,000 to $28,000 into this deal. Furniture, setup, finder's fee, everything to get this villa ready. And that's when things started falling apart. So we send them the money, we're super excited. We're like, all right, when is this thing gonna go live? And they start giving us excuses. Oh, the water company hasn't turned on the water yet, so we can't go live yet. Okay, that's fine, give it a couple more weeks. A month goes by. The walls still need to be painted. 2 months go by. Oh, the furniture, it's not here yet. We want to get the right furniture. We're waiting on a shipment. 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And every single time, there's a new reason why this property can't go on Airbnb yet. They kept making us believe it was about to happen, like, oh, next week. And we believed them, because why would we think we're getting scammed? Someone we trusted connected us to these people. A full year goes by, an entire year, and we never put a single guest in that property. Not one booking, not $1 of revenue, nothing. The only silver lining, if you can even call it that, is that we weren't paying rent every single month on that property. They didn't charge us monthly rent, but they took that $25,000 up front, and we never saw a penny of it ever again. And it gets worse. Within that same network of people, and I'm pretty sure now that they all knew each other and were running this together, someone sold me a shelf corporation. If you don't know what that is, it's basically an aged LLC. An LLC that's been around for a few years already. The idea is that if you have an older business on paper, you can qualify for more business funding and better terms. And I was like, all right, if I get this, I can get even more funding to scale. This was happening around the same time. So I paid $15,000 for it. Now that I know more about this stuff, a 5-year-old shelf corporation is worth maybe $1,000 to $1,500. And I paid $15,000 for something that wasn't even worth a fraction of that. And looking back on it, I can see I could see it now. These people were all connected. The Tulum deal, the Shelf Corporation, it was all the same network. They were fattening us up like a pig, and then they slaughtered us after they made it seem like they were separate people. Separate companies, separate opportunities, but it was all one big setup. So let's do the math. $25,000 to $28,000 on the Tulum villa and $15,000 for the Shelf Corporation. That's about $43,000 to $45,000 gone out of the $50,000 in funding that I paid $5,000 just to access. I'm 22 years old, I'm working at TSA, and now I owe $50K and have nothing to show for it. I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the hardest times, one of the most stressful times in my life, because it wasn't like I just lost money on a bad investment where at least I learned the business model. I just got straight up robbed, and the money wasn't even mine. I had to pay back every single dollar of that funding. And the clock was ticking before that interest started kicking in and completely wrecking us. And the worst part is, me and Alex had built 4 Airbnbs in a year with our own money. No outside help, no funding, just us working our jobs and pouring profits back into this business. We had momentum going. We were about to scale, and now instead of using profits to grow, we were using every dollar that we made to just pay back that debt from a deal that never even existed. But here's the thing, and I think this is important. I don't know how I would have gotten through this alone. I really don't, because having a business partner through something like this makes all the difference. And I'm not just talking about splitting the financial burden. I'm talking about the mental side of things, because believe it or not, me and Alex would crack jokes about it, about this scam this whole entire year. Like, we'd be sitting there looking at our debt and our bank account and just laughing about it, like, bro, we really just got finessed for $45,000. It sounded like a movie plot. And we would laugh about it, because what else are you gonna do in that moment? You can sit there and cry about it, or you can look at your boy and be like, bro, this is insane, and just keep going. And having someone in the trenches with you who understands exactly what you're going through, that made it survivable. And if I was doing this by myself, going through all of it alone, I probably would have spiraled. But we kept each other's head straight. We kept it light when it needed to be light, and we kept working when it was time to work. So what did we actually do? We kept running the 4 Airbnbs we had. I kept working at TSA, Alex kept working his job, and every month we would take whatever we could make and throw it at that debt, because we had a deadline. Interest was going to start hitting at the end of the year, and we were not about to let $50,000 turn into $60,000 or $70,000 or $80,000. Spoiler, we paid it off. We paid it off before the interest kicked in, and not only that, we actually managed to scale during that time too. And by the end of 2024, I had 8 Airbnb units. So I went from 4 units and $50,000 in the hole to 8 units and debt-free in about 12 months. And today I have 15 Airbnb arbitrage units, but I'm not gonna sit here and flex on that like it was easy. It sucked. I could have had way more units by now if I never got scammed. I could have been paying myself earlier. I could have quit my job way earlier. That $45,000 sent me back at least a year. And the guy who sold us that Tulum deal, he's in a bunch of lawsuits right now. So he's probably getting what he deserves. But I'm not holding on to that. I just took it on the chin and kept building. So here's what I took away from this whole entire experience. And this is the part I really want you to hear. First thing, when you're hungry and you're growing fast, you become a target. I was 22 years old. I had momentum. I wanted to scale, and I was willing to pay people and trust people because I was excited. That's exactly the type of person scammers look for. They don't target people who are standing still or doing nothing. They target people who are moving and have the money to spend. Second thing, just because someone you trust connects you to someone doesn't mean that person is automatically trustworthy. The person who connected me to these people, they weren't a bad person. They actually ended up losing money with the same group too and cut ties with them after they figured out what was going on. So I don't have anything against them, but I learned that a referral is not a guarantee. You still have to do your own due diligence on every single deal that you involve yourself in. Third thing is, if something keeps getting delayed and there's always a new excuse, that's not a speed bump, that's a red flag. Every month there was a new reason why this Tulum property couldn't go live. The water, the furniture, the paint, all these excuses. And every month I believed it because I wanted to work. And when you want something bad enough, you'll make excuses for the people who are taking advantage of you. And I did that for a full year. And the last thing is, you can lose everything and still come back. And I lost $45,000 of money that wasn't even mine. And I still ended the year with more units than I started with because the business model works. I just took a bad deal. So why am I telling you all this? Because when I got scammed, the first thing I thought was, I'm never telling anybody about this. I was embarrassed. I felt stupid. I was like, how did I fall for this type of stuff? I'm supposed to be smart. I'm supposed to know better. I'm making all this money with Airbnb. But here's the thing. Every single entrepreneur I know has a story like this. Maybe it's not 45K, maybe it's a 5K course that taught them basically nothing. Maybe it's 40K on a mentorship that didn't deliver. One of my own students paid $40,000 for a mentorship before he found me. It was like some program teaching people how to raise capital to buy apartment buildings. It did not work at all for him, and he actually ended up filing for bankruptcy. And the reason I'm being transparent about it now is because of what it taught me about how I run my own business. I have a mentorship now where I help people launch their first Airbnb unit, and doing this in less than 90 days without owning property. And I think about this experience every single day when I'm working with my students, because I know what it feels like to pay someone for help and not get anything in return. I know what it feels like to trust someone with your money, with your time, and have them waste both. So when I'm working with my students, I'm not just sending them some videos and disappearing. I'm on calls with them, I'm looking at their pricing, I'm connected to their actual Airbnb account so I can see their bookings and let them know when something is off, and I'm texting them back and forth when they have questions, because I know what the other side looks like. I lived it. I got scammed pretty early on, and it made me the type of mentor that I wish I had when I was going through it. That's why I don't just sell a course and move on, because someone did that to me, and it cost me $45,000 in a year of my life and a lot of stress. So if you're watching this and you've been burned before, whether it's a bad course, bad mentor, bad deal, whatever it is, just know that it doesn't have to end there. I was $45,000 in the hole at 22 years old, and now I'm 24 with 15 units and a business that has done over $2 million in revenue. The L didn't stop me, it just made me a smarter entrepreneur. And if you want to learn more about how I actually build Airbnbs without owning property, DM me the word info on Instagram. My handle's in the description. I'm happy to talk about it over with you. That's the story I never told anyone, and I appreciate you watching.